Yo, what up, internet? Farah Hashim checking in from Flick Refinery, and today I want to talk to my peoples about cameras. I want to talk to y'all about the fact that the camera that you already have is probably good enough. I would say 90% of you already have a camera body good enough for you to start to learn how to get to a higher level of retouching and a higher level of portrait style work. The main thing that you should be focused on when you're buying your first camera or making a decision of whether or not you should upgrade is what lens am I using to shoot my images with. So when I went out and I first bought a camera, I thought the most important thing was, I got to get a really nice camera that'll make a really nice image. False. What's more important than the camera itself is what lens I'm shooting it through. I got my first camera back in I think 2002. I bought this Nikon D40. I spent a couple $100s on this. I used it maybe 10 or 15 times, and I saw the quality of work I was producing with that, and I said, you know what? Photography ain't for me. I ain't doing what these other people are doing with this camera. I just don't have it. So for years, that thing just collected dust. It's a very old system now. If you got something this old, 2001, yeah, it's probably time to upgrade. But any of my peoples that already have a camera, let's say from 2015 on, I'm pretty sure it's good enough, but I'm gonna give you some wisdom on how you can just double check to make sure. When I got serious about it and I knew I wanted to do portrait style work 5 years ago, I did my research. I got caught in a vicious YouTube cycle, spending hours and hours of time that I could have been using getting better at it. I spent on researching what the best camera to buy, and I ended up getting a Sony a6000. Now, this is what's considered a great entry level or beginner camera, and they actually started to make cameras for the prosumer. So this is somebody that wants to do really high-end work in their spare time but doesn't want to go out and spend thousands of dollars on a professional level of a camera. And this is actually why I recommend a lot of people starting out look at these entry-level prosumer cameras, because basically what's happening is these manufacturers, they're all getting really good and they're all competing with each other. For my peoples that don't have a camera, I really recommend the Sony a6000. But usually what happens is I recommend the Sony a6000 and people say, yeah, but what about this Canon? Cool. Here's what you're gonna do. If you want to buy this Canon, if you're really passionate about that Nikon, that Fujifilm, just do a quick YouTube search, not too long, nothing too crazy, and just see how it stacks up against that Sony a6000. You'll notice that even though that a6000 came out 5 years ago, it's still considered one of the best entry-level cameras. And for my people that love portrait style work, which if you're following me, you probably do, this camera actually had 24 megapixels, which is a lot of megapixels. Without getting too techie, think of your megapixels as the detail your camera is capturing. Since we're doing portrait style of work, I need my camera to capture amazing detail. So when I put it into Photoshop and I start to retouch it, I can actually manipulate the file a lot more based on how much detail is in that raw image. Everything that we shoot is going to be in RAW, so we need something that can capture a lot of quality. So that a6000 is basically my baseline camera. There's a bunch of Canons that I've seen recently that seem to stack up just as well. There's a bunch of Nikons, there's a bunch of Fujifilms. Long story short, everybody is making really good cameras, but again, that first thing you should think when you're buying your camera is, what lens am I gonna use? I'm not one of those who's gonna tell you that you should be learning on the kit lens for too long. Again, it's kind of crazy to think that I've been doing this and learning this process for over 5 years, and shooting on something like a kit lens, you're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna quit, just like I did. So quickly, I want you to start investing in better pieces of glass. We're gonna save our money on the body, and we're gonna start to buy good lenses. We're gonna get our camera system, but right away, as soon as possible, we're gonna figure out which portrait lens we're actually gonna be shooting with. I recommend getting a 50mm to start out. It's gonna give you a lot of versatility, but a lot of my favorite images are honestly taken on the 85mm. This is a very long lens in the sense that you have to step away from your subject in order to capture it. and from time to time that can be a pain. So that 50mm is going to give you a lot of the same versatility or the same aesthetic as this kind of a lens, but it's going to allow you to be closer to your subject, which is good for people that are shooting in smaller spaces and you want to capture more of the body. But if you're someone that wants to do, let's say, beauty type of work, this 85mm is going to be the way to go. And what I did when I first got my Sony a6000 was I learned about this brand Rokinon. Basically, this is a Chinese manufactured lens. It's a good piece of glass and there's no frills to it. It's a good piece of a lens and it's all manual. There's no autofocus, there's no Bluetooth, nothing crazy. This is just a good piece of glass. So what's good about that is when you're first starting out, it's actually good to have to learn how to manually focus and adjust your lens. We can't always rely on autofocus, especially when there's not good lighting. The cameras can only see what they can see. So if there's no good light, I find that I have to go into manual mode and learn how to get the image that way. So if we're starting off the bat, you can save yourself hundreds of dollars by getting a manual lens. And we're gonna actually go ahead and go on Amazon, and I'm gonna take you step by step. If I was just buying my first camera, in a few minutes I'm gonna show you how I would do it. Alright, so now we're on Amazon, and this is that Sony a6000 I was telling you about. This is the camera that I started out with. I actually purchased it with this 16 to 50mm and this 55 to 210mm kit. I thought I was fly. I thought I had two really great lenses. I spent, it's even $700 now. So what happened was I bought these lenses and I never used them. I honestly might have used this 50mm for one or two events, and the kit lens from time to time is cool to use for video, but if you actually want to create stuff that looks dope, if you want to create things that look like what I create, I don't recommend this. What I do recommend though, go ahead and hit that. We just want the camera, the base, the body, that's it. And as you can see, another reason why this is a good way to go is this is an older camera, so you can go ahead and get it for $400 sometimes used, and you can even get it renewed for $417. So we add that to the cart. What did I tell you? The thing that we really are more concerned about, since we're saving money on our camera body, is what lens we're going to use. So I would type in a6000, a good place to start, that 50mm. And this is a great starter lens. This is going to give you a lot of that flexibility to create some great portraits. As you can see, it's called a portrait style lens. This one is actually autofocus. It's going to work and behave just like the kit lens would, but it's going to give you that higher end result. And you're only spending $348 new. But again, always check that used. You can get it for $277. I 100% would feel really good telling somebody and recommending somebody to get this set up. We spent under $700 and we have a beast. Alright, but let's say we were goofy and we didn't pay attention and we're not listening to Farad. Let's say you went and you saw the fact that the a6000 has been upgraded and they got this a6600 with the kit lens, 18 to 135mm zoom. You probably think you're gonna be real fly with this. Look at this. You're about to spend $1,700, and I'm telling you, what you create on this setup right here is not going to outdo what you would do with this $696 setup that I suggested. You're going to get this, you're going to spend all that money, you probably got to get a payment plan, and it's just not going to produce what you needed to produce. The reason why this costs so much more, they now upgraded it to the point where it's got the flip out screen, it probably has better Bluetooth, it's got a bunch of stuff that don't make a difference when it comes to portrait retouching, when it comes to lighting, which is the things that we really need to be focusing our energy on. So you can see I just saved you $1,000 with a nice setup. And with that extra $1,000, we ain't gonna get into it today, but we can spend it on lighting. We can spend it on the things that are actually going to improve our work a lot and actually gonna start to get us to that editorial level that we all love and we all want. Thanks for tapping in with me today. I hope this helps some people. If you enjoyed this information, please make sure you subscribe. Send this video to someone you know is really stressing about what camera they need to get, or save somebody from spending $1,000 extra on something that is not gonna help. Again, this is Farad Hashem signing out from Flick Refinery. I'll see you next time.